Good evening, I'm Pat McKercher, and tonight we'll be discussing the effects of the economic recession on the private and public construction. The data we utilized was private and public spending on construction from 2002 to 2014. The data was provided as monthly data in millions of dollars. The data is broken into total, private, and public, and we see that due to the sheer size of private spending on construction, it does heavily dominate the effect on the total spending on construction. The question we're answering tonight is, what impact did the 2008 recession have on construction spending? We can see from this time series graph here that private construction spending decreased during the recession and took about 3 years to fully recover and start to bottom out and peak up. The public construction increased until late 2009, where it peaked in late 2009 and then started to decrease. To simplify our data analysis, I utilized a moving average of the data. This was due to the cyclicality, both the private and public sector. And by using a moving average, we were able to take that annual cyclicality and simplify it down to a trend that you can see here in the blue line. We observe a sharp decline during the recession, and we went from a peak in late 2007 of $70,000 million to a minimum of $40,000 million. This was a 43% reduction in private spending. Possible root causes of this is that the recession, being largely in the financial industry, resulted in a contraction of private lending. Additionally, it raised the bar for having access to that private lending, so the lenders became significantly more picky about who they were going to lend to, who were safe borrowers. Additionally, private projects can largely be funded by lending, so that retraction in lending results in that decrease in the ability to spend in the private sector. Finally, private companies have the ability to suspend or delay their construction projects. So as they see their sales going down, as they see the effects of the recession taking on their business, they're able to delay those major construction projects until a later time when they're more stable. Public construction, we additionally used a moving average to simplify this analysis. We see a steady rise until about mid-2009. They started at $21,000 million and they peaked at $25,000 million. So we see a 16% increase in the spending in the public sector. This increase in the public spending is partly a result because spending in the public sector is used as stimulus support. Additionally, the public spending is written into law, therefore it's significantly more difficult to pause, and most of that spending is already paid for. And we see the peak in late 2009. This peak most likely occurred about a year and a half, 2 years later, due to that reduced income from the recession. So as businesses were less successful, as more people were getting laid off, you had that reduced tax income. Therefore, you had the reduced ability to have that public spending. Summary recommendations. The U.S. economic recession occurred from 2008 to 2011. Private construction spending declined by 43%. This was in part due to a retraction in the lending, and the other part is in the ability of the private industry to pause their projects. Public spending grew by 16%. This spending is mandated by law, so it's significantly difficult to stop. Additionally, most of this spending is used as stimulus. So when you have an economic recession occur or a major economic event, you will see the government try to put more money into the economy to try to boost it and keep it going. And we saw a 1.5-year lag in the spending, and that was due to the fact that it took about a year and a half, 2 years to really see that reduced tax income on the public sector. Ultimately, the recommendations is that you can expect the private sector as a whole to decrease their spending during an economic recession, and you can expect the public sector to increase their spending during an economic recession, ultimately to be lagged by a year or two due to that change in tax income. Thank you for your time tonight. If you have any questions, I will be standing by.